First of all, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you are located. Uh, First, and I would like to thank to the Data Popcorn team, okay, and for giving this opportunity, and the organizers team and the backend support team. And today's topic is unified modeling with Microsoft Fabric semantic layer. So I'll just try to give a glimpses of it because as per the short timeline. So what I will showcase to you in the sense in the Power BI part, how we are going to streamline the semantic layer if there is a very big model, and also I will try to showcase to you if there is already a connection between the tables in the modeling part, how can you try to give or else how can you try to make an inactive relationship to be an active? And if you are managing huge models, how can we create a kind of a calculation group to avoid many calculations like multiple measures and so on. That part also I'm going to discuss. And before moving on to the stage, like I would just like to give about myself. Uh, I'm Rajendra Ongole, Data Platform MVP and Power BI as well as Microsoft Fabric. I'm a super user at community platforms and I'm certified trainer and giving a lot of outside and internal sessions in my organization. And working as a lead architect at Robert Bosch. And if you want to reach out to me, below are my social networking handles. You can connect me there and you can ask if you have any questions or queries related to Power BI or Fabric or career support. As I said, the content part, we are going to discuss about direct link. I mean, this is an introduction from the Microsoft Fabric part, how it is direct link, will we collaborate? And also in Power BI, if you are working with some larger models, how we are going to bring the data into the Power BI, like by using import connection or a direct query. And what about the difference between the direct link compared with the direct query connections as well. And I will showcase to you as a hands-on experience. So I'm going to take one of the Power BI file and with some very big model, little bit, and how we are going to bring a connections from inactive relationship to the active relationship. That part as a hands-on part, I'm going to share it. Maybe you want that link or else a references part, let me know so that I can share your post in the chat. I mean, you can take it reference as a later part. So these are the different types of a storage that we are aware. So import method, if you are directly connecting to some data source systems, this is the by default connection import where it will be get stored the data, copy of the data to your Power BI application, and it will get support any type of a data transformations, which we will do it at the Power Query part. And coming to the data refreshes, if you already imported data, you can configure it as per the data availability. It will require, I mean, like manually we can schedule it, or maybe if you want to get it automated, the Power BI services, we can automate the data refreshes as well. That is a complete copy of the data to your Power BI application. Like that, if you are working with the larger models or data set part, in such kind of a scenario, instead of importing, even in my real-time experiences, we will work with the gigabytes of data. Instead of importing the huge information, we'll try to currently also we will using the direct query approach to store only the information, I mean, like the data in the backend part, and just a kind of a quick data refreshes and see some quick insights. And to the front end part, we will use direct queries as well. Support, there is a limitation here, supports limited or some data cleansing activities at the Power Query editor part. We will not perform as like import method. That is one of the constraint you can look over if you're working at the direct query. And where can we do in the sense, in such kind of a scenario, you can use the backend itself, the database level, try to perform most of the data transformations outside of the application and try to pull that information to your Power BI. Like that. The last one is a direct lake, which we are getting familiar with this Microsoft Fabric. Most of the companies are trying to adapt this application, Microsoft Fabric, with their layers internally. So we are seeing the very fast data transformation once the data gets stored in our one lake. So from one lake, we are not importing, we are not even the direct query. It's a faster performance part as well as the faster retrieval part. We are using the direct lake because the data is already there in the lake house and trying to pull into the report which you are preparing on your services part, like in a SSAS model. So it will stay up to date on the real analysis. We can try to perform it in the directly because the data is already there available. We can bring the real-time analysis and see the numbers without like auto kind of a refreshes, which will be possible via directly. These are the different storage methods that we have as of now in Power BI. Even the dual approach is there. I'm not discussing that part, which is a combination of import as well as direct query. So most of those projects we'll try to implement with import, direct query, or direct lake. Coming to the implementation best practices, as we are today's session, try to connect views. I mean, like instead of connecting to the tables, if you are working with the real-time databases, and try to include the necessary or else the required columns or the number of rows to your database tables. And also, if you're playing with the huge data part, try to use or implement incremental layer. It's like instead of doing the complete data refreshes, we can try to perform the data refreshes as per the data, like which is required, or else maybe if there is any changes that has been implemented for last 2 to 3 days, then to avoid the complete data refreshes. So incremental refresh is very beneficial, where we will try to implement and try to provide this analysis to the, I mean, like performance aspects. Performance aspect will be well and tuned. And coming to the, make sure that data types are properly aligned for each and every of the columns or fields that we are trying to load it. And it should be work as like a query folding, where whatever the transformations that you are performing, it will create in the top of the layer with a SQL query. And those queries also we can trigger and execute it on your modeling part on your backend database. So most of the data modeling practices which I am sharing, and which I will also implement on my real-time use case. Try to align or bring a star schema design. So most of we working on the data part, we are aware of this designing principle, like in the center, which is going to have some important metrics along with the repetition of the key fields like foreign keys, and all surrounded by the dimension table. Fact table is center table, which will be get connected to all your dimension like a product, date, resellers, employee, and territory. So this kind of a schema model, we will have it, I mean, regularly basis, and make sure that the performance optimization as well as the scalability part, it is going to improve, or else it's the best use case to implement on our semantic modeling layer. Let's try to understand the model. So how the tables are get connected. So assume that I have a year table which is going to be placed as like a role uh, role based tables, which will be work as like a role based dimension. Maybe if this role based, it will be get connected to three different in the same sales table with other fields as well, which we will call it as an inactive relationship. So on table to the table, we will definitely maintain one active relationship, and remaining is going to be an inactive relationship. So if you're observing from the sales to the product to the category, it is going to be a hierarchical approach. So product categories and hierarchical, it is not directly connecting to the centrally sales table. So it's a kind of a semantic model, which we will call it as a snowflake schema, which is having some hierarchical representation. And coming to the year on the right hand side, if it is having another kind of a connections like uh, maybe in the same sales table, like a shipping date, due date, if it is get connected other than the orders date, we will make sure that those are going to be an inactive. Suppose what if you want to bring some information from inactive relationship as well. In such kind of a scenario, we are going to use some DAX logics to bring those numbers also from the inactive relations to the active. So that part I'm going to showcase to you demo part, which will be very helpful. So I feel like it will be I mean, instead of theoretically explain, practical, if you can showcase, it is better. Let me showcase to that how I'm going to project that analysis. Let's dig into the demo part. Hope you're observing my current Power BI file. I just named it as a sales report. Here, if you're observing, centrally, just now we discussed about centrally, we have a sales, and remaining all tables are get connected with each other. And this is important. Already the date table is already connected with order date to the date, and I converted as a date table conversion. And remaining two, if you're observing, these dotted lines, we will call it as an inactive. So one dotted line is for the due date to the date, another dotted line is for shipping date to the date. And as I said, we will maintain only one solid line between the tables or connections. So here one solid line is order date to the date, which is, we will call it as an active relationship. So fine, let's try to bring some analysis on your reporting part. So how I'm going to showcase, please observe here. I'll just try to take a simple table chart. And let's try to pull one of the physical year from this date table. We already have a connection between the date to the sales. Let me pull here the year. Let me bring some important metric as well. Let's try to take total sales. Increase the font. Hope it is visible to you. I just increase the font as well. So year and the financial, that's fine. So we are trying to project the year wise 2017 to 20. We have an information. Those are the numbers, and you can see the total value is 77.54 million as well. So as of now, I can visualize it with the date, total sales, but I also want to track what is the shipping date values, and also want to see how is the due date wise total sales, how it has been doing. This kind of an analysis I want to project it. In such kind of a scenario, as I said just now, we will maintain only one active relationship. And if you want to see the analysis with the due date, or maybe if you want to see the shipping date wise analysis, how we are going to bring those numbers as well. So here we are going to make that shipping date or due date in active relationship to be an active by using some DAX approach. DAX functions we are going to implement it. So as I said, we will work on some DAX functions to make that inactive as an active. So let's try to work on it as well. So here I'm going to create a measure for this. Please observe here. And also I will showcase to you how we are going to get what is a business problem as well. Let's try to call it as a shipping date, because I want to see an analysis for the shipping date wise. Per total cost, sales, or whatever the metric is an expression I'm taking care. And as I said, let's try to take a function name called user relationship. So this function will help you to make that inactive relationship at the backend part, which in the model which we just observe as an active. So here we need to call the columns. If you're observing the column 1 and column 2, I'm going to pick the shipping date column, and from the date, let's try to call it shipping date, comma, from the sales table, date table, date column, validate it, commit. And let's see there, because currently the total sales are visible to me for each and every financial year, but I want to see the sales, how for the shipping, how it has been configured, or else the number has been get changed. That type of an analysis I want to observe. Let me drag and drop here shipping sales. You can see the totals are not changing, but the shipping value for each and every financial year has been changed. Like maybe financial year for 2017, 8.06 million, and for shipping date wise, 7.54 million. And maybe for the shipping date with a blank of year and total sales is shipping date 9.5 million. So total values are same, but it is not changed. And the values are getting differ between each and every year, when has been transferred, when has been shipped that particular product or else particular sales item, and so on. Fine, like that, let me showcase to you one more metric for the due date wise, how the analysis or how the numbers has been projected. So here, if you're observing, I'm trying to create for each and every measure for the total sales, shipping date wise total sales, and so on. Suppose I have created 10 different measures like total sales, total cost, profit, profit margin, and so on. And I want to see that analysis based on the shipping date or due date or order date. I have to create three, that means the three date fields connections to the model. That means I need to create 30 plus measures to create or else to showcase the visualizations to the customer. To get rid of it, we have one more concept that I'm going to discuss now. Let me create a measure, ship due date wise sales with due date. Calculate same metric I'm using, total sales. One metric, I'm creating three different measures. Like you just think, if you want to create for other measures like a total sales, profit, and so on, you have to create for each and every time a metric, I mean like a measure, which will impact the performance as well. So let me use the function, user relation function, date table, date column, due date wise from the sales table. So here how it is working in the sense, by using this function, user relationship function, I'm trying to make this particular inactive relationship from the due date to the due date is available in ship date, sales table. date table, date column. So I'm trying to make using the user relationship function an active. Let me drag and drop this particular due date as well. Sales with due date. So you can see the numbers for 2017, 18, 19, 20. The numbers are different for total sales or shipping date or due date wise sales, but the totals are same. The total is same, but each and every individual year, financial year, the values has been different. If you want to get create other measures too, which is going to impact the performance and which is a manually we have to get create for each and every other scenarios. Like example, as I said, for profit. Example here we have a profit margin. I want to see the analysis for the shipping date, due date wise some sales. There should be definitely a differences. If you want to observe the financial year wise. In such kind of a scenario, we have a concept name called calculation group. So we can create this calculation group and the modeling part. You can create it from here. You just try to navigate to the modeling view. Data, you can see it here. Or at the top ribbon level also, you can see it, calculation group. So calculation group, it is a savior for to get avoid creation of this many calculations. We no need to create a different set of calculation for each and every metric. It will help you to get derived one particular calculation group we can create, and we can also work and filter the data based on the measures which we are going to make use of it. Let me create one calculation group. So once you select the calculation group, automatically you are going to observe the calculation group with group columns, calculation items with a sub folder, sub hierarchy. Let me give the name. So see here in this formula bar editor, calculation item is equal to selected measure. Selected measure is a by default. Let me create it as an, maybe I'm very much interested with one of the key column, that is year to date, total YTD. Why is I want to see the analysis for each and every year. In such kind of a scenario, I'm creating a one measure for this YTD sales equal to, using the next line, calculate. So the expression part, this is completely based on the selected measure of, in my visualization, I'm using the selected measure is my expression. This is important. The filtration part, we have to provide right number or right analysis, which one you want to use the DAX function. So here I'm very much interested to see the numbers on based on dates wise, dates YTD, year to date, and call this date table, date column, validate it. This is one special measure for this YTDs. You can see here, and maybe if you want to rename, you can rename this part also later. Let me create few more, like a previous year. I'm very much interested to see previous year. So common mistakes are, no need to create one more calculation group. Here itself, we can add the what you are interested, the next measure. So let me create a new calculation item and try to give it as a previous year value. So previous year sales and calculate selected measure based on the selection, comma, pre yeah, sorry, previous year wise, try to call this date column, validate it. Like that, I'm very much interested to see the analysis based on some year over sales growth. So here on this particular calculation items, I'm creating the multiple measures. I can reuse, or else I can try to call this previous year YTD sales and year over year growth percentages in my visualization. How I'm going to visualize it and showcase to you right now. Please observe it. One more calculation item I'm creating. This is based on sales YOY, year growth percentage, sales. I'm using a variable here, whereof thing calculate selected measure based same period last year. divide.
Rajendra, you need to equal sign after year-over-year.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. Yeah,
In
thank you.
first
That's
line.
what I'm. Thank you. Yeah. Just projected. Thank you. Thank you so much. Divide. So here I'm trying to call the selected measure minus. So this part, which I'm calling it as an variable, this measure, I'm just trying to use it as my variable part, measured sales. So you can reuse these variables within the same measure. These are all common mistakes we were new to this. So whenever you're trying to use this variables, you have to use it in the same measure. No, it will not work on the outside of any other new measure. Please be careful here, comma. The denominator is I'm calling for this measure sales, close the bracket, validate it. And also here, I will try to project the dynamic formatting. Let's try to enable it. By default, here,
Rajendra, we've got 1 minute to the end.
yeah, almost completed. Sorry for that. Almost completed. Let me showcase to you and percentage validated. So how this calculation group will work, let me showcase to you. So here I have created multiple measures for each and every other. Let me showcase something to you. And I'm using a matrix this time and financial year on my rows. So see here, if you're observing this part, calculation group is available. And if you can try to drag and drop, because multiple measures, I want to see the numbers on each and every metric. By default, you can see an error. So let's try to drag and drop. Maybe I'm interested for the profit margin, total sales, total cost, and so on. Let's see here. In this way, we can see all these metrics, and even I just converted to the percentage here by dynamic formatting approach. So you can see the numbers and so on. And one more last part, I'll just try to showcase to you. Whatever the measure which I have created, that is a calculation group, you can also utilize in the form of a slicer, so that from the customer point of view, they can see the metrics or the numbers which they are very much interested, like a previous year wise or year over year wise or YTD sales wise. So in this way, we can try to optimize and make sure that our semantic model works instead of creating many measures to an using this calculation group approach. Fine, I'm done with this topic, and if you have any queries, I'm happy to help. Hope I have covered to the things what I have prepared.